Veterans Affairs Minister Andrew Gee has launched a stunning attack on the Morrison government, revealing he was on the cusp of announcing his resignation from Cabinet over the budget. Mr Gee says the government will provide $96 million for Veterans Affairs, but only because he almost walked away. Political reporter Matthew Doran has more from Canberra.
It appears that he was just moments away from doing so before a last-minute phone call from the Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce convinced him otherwise and told him that he would get the amount of money he was demanding for the Veterans Affairs portfolio. Andrew Gee says that he was needing an extra $96 million in his portfolio to deal with a backlog of 60,000 claims for compensation from former Defence Force personnel, from Defence veterans that had been building up over a number of years. This $96 million would go towards employing extra staff to clear that backlog through to 2023. But in early deliberations that he'd had with the government, he was only being promised around a quarter of that, just a fraction over $20 million. He said that it got to the stage last night where he had had enough of it. He didn't feel like he could look the veterans community in the eye and say that he had secured enough support for them, and he was about to resign from Cabinet in disgust. Moments before fronting the media, he called the Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce to alert him to that, and moments later that full $96 million commitment was made. He was asked during his press conference in Orange in regional New South Wales today how he felt that it took a resignation threat to finally get his Cabinet colleagues to deliver on this funding commitment.
Well, it was pretty close. It was a pretty dramatic morning. I feel glad that I've got a result for the veterans and their families, like the ADF personnel, because at the end of the day, it's not really about me. It's about making life better for them. And as I said, this claims backlog is a national disgrace. And to sit back as minister and accept second best, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't look them in the eye and do it. And just pretend that I was okay with it and just go along for the ride and line up at the parliamentary buffet. That's not me and that's not who I am.
Andrew Gee, the still Veterans Affairs Minister in Scott Morrison's Cabinet. The Prime Minister was asked about Mr Gee's claims shortly after he made them, and he was fairly dismissive of what Andrew Gee was saying there, suggesting that this wasn't a case of holding back on funds, that there was always going to be a capacity to get more money into this program into the future, even going so far as to suggest that Andrew Gee simply didn't know how budget processes were gone through.
The budget was locked. It is locked. There was always the decision for further funding to be provided under this proposal, which it indeed will, and that was the indication that was provided during the budget process. Minister Gee is newly in Cabinet and is coming to understand those processes, and I appreciate that he does, and we look forward to getting on with those programs.